Hey there, Steve here.
And I'm Zion.
And today we're going to be building a high-speed starter machine with room to grow. For starters, we're going to be building everything on an MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon AC motherboard. For our CPU, we're going to be using an AMD Ryzen with built-in graphics. For memory, we're going to be using PNY DDR4 with RGB lights. And for storage, we're going to be using a Samsung 970 EVO 500 gig SSD. To power all this, we're going to be using a Thermaltake 500 watt power supply. And to light everything up, we're going to be using some Antec 120 millimeter RGB fans. And to put all this together, we're going to put it inside of an amazing case. Where'd Zion go? So you ready for this, son? Are we going to do this? Let's do this. Talk to me. What do you think? Let's do this. Let's do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out with our motherboard here. And ready for the unboxing? Or did you want to check out the case first? You want to check out the case? Yeah. Let's check out the case. All right, so for this build, all right, we have a nice mid-tower case with clear sides and glass front. We've got these awesome controls in the front here. Zion, do you want to do the honors of peeling off the plastic?
Yes.
This is the best part. Nice. How about over here?
Ooh.
For this build, we're going to be using a Golden Field N17 mid-tower case with plenty of room for storage. In the front, we're going to have room to put our Antec RGB lights, and inside we have plenty of room for expansion. Pull out the sides from here. These 4 screws. And on the side, we have smoked plexiglass.
Oh, the plastic.
And on the front, we have physical glass, also smoked, which is going to look really great when we put these lights inside of here. They'll be pretty cool when we light them up. Plenty of expansion bays in here. The power supply is going to be tucked up underneath here in a unique design, which I like because these are usually pretty heavy, and this will give it a nice center of balance, or center of gravity. Plenty of expansion bays here, as well as all the necessary connectors that we're going to need to put it together. What do you think, Zion?
Cool.
Cool. All right. So now that we have the case, the next thing we got to do is actually build the motherboard. This is how we're going to begin. Let's go ahead and. This is your motherboard. This is the heart of the whole computer, and we're going to put the static bag. Let's put that bag underneath here, right on top of there. So this is an anti-static bag. Okay, that keeps static electricity, so we don't get little sparks on it. Do you understand? Okay, so we're going to put our motherboard right here. So let me give you a brief layout of everything here. Okay, so all these is going to be the back of the computer. We were showing that right there. This is where our controls are going to be. Everything from these are our antennas for the Wi-Fi, and these are our USB connectors here, right? And our different audio jacks and our keyboard connections and other things like that, okay? And then on top here, our processor is going to go right here. This is the main point. We have a little lever here, so we can slide it in there. And then our memory is going to go right in here. And these are different expansion cards. This is where you would put your video card, and that would come out the back. Do you have any questions so far about anything? So all these different connectors and everything here are going to be for different parts that hook up to the case. Okay? So let's start with the very basic. Let's start with our memory. Why don't you go ahead and grab those things right there and pull them out of the box. Cool thing about this memory here is you see this light white part here? That actually lights up, and you get to control that. This board is really nice because it has different glow lights underneath it that will light up when we get it all together. Okay, so going to start with the memory. You notice this is notched right there, and there's a notch right there. So we've opened up those doors. We're going to take this here. We're going to slide it in like this. Right now it's just resting with gravity. But then when we push, we're going to push down, and we're going to pull these snaps at the same time. You see that? It actually snapped itself in. So there we go. That's our first step. All right. Let's go ahead and let's do our processor next. This is an AMD Ryzen 5 3400G. Now, the letter G indicates that we have Radeon Vega graphics built into this thing, okay? Which means we don't need a video card. So that's going to be something that you get to look forward to upgrading later on. This is nothing more than the body. This is the brain, and this is the memory, so you remember things. And then this is going to be your long-term storage. Take this out. This is our SSD, and it's going to slide right up into here. Oh. And then we'll screw it down there. Okay, I want you to go ahead and put it in there now. I'm going to go ahead and tear this open. Got it? And just till it stops. And there you go. Alright, it looks good, doesn't it? All this black and everything. So, next, we're going to do our CPU. So, I need you to take this, you sort of push outward and lift up. Go ahead and give that a try. Got it? And inside of here, put it down here. Pull that out. There's the money. So, what do you have here? This is our Ryzen CPU. Okay? So our fan is going to go on top of here and keep everything cool. What's really important is on this type of motherboard, this sort of connector is meant for a fan that has some spring-loaded straps that connect onto here and here. So for this build, we're going to have to get a screwdriver and take those apart. So come up here and you need to take those 4 screws out. Okay, now pull the whole plastic piece off. There you go, just set it aside. There you go, take that plastic off. Very good. So this is your CPU. Now your chip will go in the same direction as that. But what's important to do is look for these little notches here, because on your CPU, see that triangle in the corner? Mm-hmm. Right? That piece is going to line up, I believe, with this corner here. So when we take out our chip, it's only going to fit one way. So we take it, drop it in, and now pull that lever down and lock it under the little hook thing. There you go. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Super easy. Okay, now this fan has these screws here. They're spring-loaded, and also we have this paste on the back, so we don't need to add any to this one. That's a thermal transfer paste, and that keeps the metal in here cool, and then that allowed the fan to cool off the processor without overheating. Okay? Line that up. And, you know, in theory you could do these by hand, but it might be easier to start with this. Because these springs give it a little hard. There, it's starting to catch. So I'll go to the opposite side now. We don't over tighten at all. There. I turn it till it just stops. Good. All right. And then this will fit right up in here. This is notched also. Just like that. Now, wasn't that easy? So that wraps it up for this portion of it. Next, we're going to figure out that case. All right? the way this case is set up, it's going to be a little difficult to get into here once we get all the parts in. So why don't we go ahead and start with trying to put some of these fans in, okay? You go ahead and grab one. Pull it out. Keep going. Oh, those are sweet. Check that out. Oh my God, I love these. These are great. With that glass piece removed from the case, we're going to lay out these 3 fans, which we've connected in this order here. Okay, so our long one now is going to be the one that goes to the motherboard. So we'll put that one on top. Okay, so we're going to take our fans, we're going to orient them. Put them right up inside here like this. Okay, so we'll have the wires coming in on this side. Look at that. Doesn't that look nice? That looks really cool. What do you think? All right, so let's take some of these screws, right, and we'll simply feed them through the front here. Right, there's one. So look how that fits right in that circle there. Okay, so I'm gonna have you do this one right here, Zion. I'll hold it here, and you go ahead and start getting your screws lined up with the holes. See that hole right there?
Yeah.
So you go ahead and do that. Very good. Just like that. Got it? Not all the way, just till it gets started. Then we'll put the rest in, then we'll tighten them all down. Looks sharp. I like it. I think with these screws here, simply pull those out, and this access panel just kind of slides off so you can get to the other side. Now, for our power supply, now we have access to put it right up inside of here. Usually when you put in your power supply, this part goes towards the rear here. With this case being this way, it'll go in upside down because here's a vent. So this fan here can blow out the hot air out underneath the machine. Take this, we're going to slide them into this hole here. And then put this right into there like that. This also gives us another option for a lot of space down here where we can put all the cables that we do not use. So our next step at this point now is we're going to go ahead and put the motherboard into the case. All right. And so earlier you asked me about this panel here. All right. So that's a fancy back plate that's going to cover up all of these pieces here. So for our viewing audience, we have our outside connectors here, and so this has to orient onto this. Okay, so looking at, we got all these circles here. There's a whole bunch of them there. That's a quick, easy thing to find, and then these 2 holes will fit over these. All right, like that. Okay, so now we need to transfer that over to here and pop it in like this. Hey there, we're back. And in typical dad fashion, when we first started this project, we just jumped right in without getting the lay of the land. And upon doing so, we discovered a few obstacles, like our power cables wouldn't fit, and we couldn't figure out where the RGB connectors went, and all of our different connectors that we're going to have to work on here are all kind of like really tightly squeezed in here. Okay, so what I want to do now is get you oriented with the motherboard. All right? So we already talked about our memory, our CPU, and our accessories here. One thing that we didn't really get into was the RGBs. Remember, we were having trouble trying to find out where we were going to put them?
Yeah.
So first of all, one thing I did is we had this accessory here which allowed me to plug in the power supplies connectors for each of the 3 fans into one, so we don't have to waste 3 system fan connectors on here. Okay, and I also cleaned up the wires and tucked everything nicely inside of here. All right, so now that we realize we have this, we have our power here and our the RGB connector, I discovered that RGB 1 and 2 is where we would plug in this accessory. And in our case, we also had this extension plug here, which is going to make it really easy for us to go ahead and just plug the fans right into, instead of having to finagle real close to here, which is a real trick because that's what we're going to have to do with all these other things here. Talking about lights, I wanted to make sure I covered that with you. RGB 1 is right here, okay, and RGB 2 is over here by the power, okay? So when you want to add more lights to it, you can plug it in there. Consider this a roadmap for finding everything that we need to connect, okay? And also what's really cool, if you download the manual, each of these items here, you can find them on the list, and it'll give you the specific page for the configuration for things like our power connectors, our fan connectors, DIMM slots, audio connectors, we're going to need that, chassis intrusion connection, that's something to do for the case, and all these different things, okay? So this is our roadmap and our instruction manual on how to properly connect everything on here so we don't mess anything up. Are you ready to start plugging everything in?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do this. So, you see these have these different labels. Where is that on the motherboard? Find me the USB-C.
That's one.
Very good. All right. So let's just go ahead and use that for our starting point, okay? And you remember it's notched. So put it in like that, okay? See those hard drive LED goes into these two right there in the corner. So you look up, find your, where's JFP1? It's very tiny. Which one is JFP1?
Yes.
Okay. Pin number 1 is right there. It's written on the board, and it says a little 1, and you see the white square in the corner? The same thing goes, you see the white square?
Yeah, I see it.
And you see the white square in that corner, and on that corner, and that corner? That's our identifier for where our pin 1s are. So those are our starting points. Now, with that in mind, if you're looking at it like this, here's pin 1. So where are you going to put the hard drive LED connector on this one? Just the one that says HD LED with positive and negative.
Right there.
Very good. Okay? So with that in mind, why don't we do the other side? Power LED has a positive and negative. Okay? The positive is going to go on pin number 2. Okay? So where's your power LED? It's this one right here. And which one is the positive one going to go on? See, what do I have here? Which one's the positive? Good. And where's the positive one go on this? Which pin number? Where's my finger pointing?
2.
2. Okay, so your positive one is going to go, so basically it's going to go like this. Okay, so what's next on here? Reset switch. Use both your hands, hold the board. Use both your hands to hold the motherboard in place and guide it in with your fingers. Because it's so small, it's kind of difficult, isn't it? Very good. Okay, what are you about to connect?
The USB.
Okay, where does it go?
Right here. Wait, right here.
Okay. Go ahead. And is it orient a certain way?
Yeah.
How do you know which way is which?
On the bottom, it's missing one slot.
Why don't you show me that slot real quick? Okay, I see. So it's got a little square in there, huh? And on the board, how about the board? Move your finger. Yeah, I see that. Okay, go ahead and plug it in. So, is that all of the case pieces, or do we have anything else that we need to connect? No, I got one more here. This is our system fans. Okay, so where's our system fan going to go? I'll give you a hint. It's right here. Very good. Okay, so now that we've secured the standing posts, we can go ahead and insert the motherboard in the case. Because it was so tight and difficult last time, I'll just go ahead and get it started, and then I'm going to let you take over and do all the bolting down like we did before. Okay, so we need, remember, we need to orient our output side over here. Okay, looking at our motherboard, orient this, and our outputs are this side over here. Okay, so we're going to have to take this guy off for a second. See? Orient that like that. Now all of our things are up here like this. And we'll reconnect that in a minute. There. I took the backing plate off, and then I can always reorient it once I get it in there. You see that? So that was the trick for that one. And now we can pop that guy back in. And then you can go ahead and finish bolting everything. Now that we have the motherboard back into the case, we just have to finish button things up. If you notice, I've cleaned up a lot of the wires. All of the legacy connectors that I had for hard drives and disk drives and other things that you're not going to be using, I've tucked back in here so you have a nice big open case. The more room you have for air, the more cool your system will run and a lot better everything will operate. So before we hook up the final power supplies, we were looking at the RGB connector here. So let's go ahead and hook up our fans. We have a plug here for the system fan and the RGB connector, Zion. So that's all that's left to do. So this is our system fan, and I figured even though we plugged it onto this middle one here, it's probably better just to put it here because it's closer. You notice that's slotted right there? So go ahead and plug that fan into that spot right there. Got it? And now let's go ahead and get our RGB plugged in here. RGB plug right there. Now remember, we need to line up the arrows, right? Okay, so arrows right there. You find it on here. Look for that. You got that? All right. So let's go ahead and plug in our ATX connector here. Look for our notch right there. Plug it in there. Okay, good. And we talked about the CPU power, so let's plug that one in next. Even though we're not overclocking, we're going to plug it in now anyway. So go ahead and find the orientation. Remember, the pins only fit one way. So find our CPU connector. Well, let's start with the orientation. Let me take a look and see what might be in the way. We have a 8-pin and a 4-pin right there, and we're worried about the 8-pin. Do you see those? So you were aiming for the one that direction, right? Our notch thing here is on this side, right? So that's the direction it should go, like this. And so if we just take a look here, see that? Just snapped right in. All right, very good. And should be good. Everything's all set. So let's go ahead and button it up, and then we'll go ahead and we'll set up our software. You ready? Awesome. Do it for the camera.
I've been waiting to do this since yesterday.
Ah, I love it. And it looks like our system is put together. So there you have it. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Say hi, I'm Zion.
Hi, I'm Zion.